And this year we're going to probably come in at 1 million plus.
Behind us is the board that has what is on press. We are here to press for everybody.
It's very important that we support local bands, even though their orders may be smaller. But it's extremely important that they're able to take 7-inch records or even a 12-inch to their shows.
We do recycle as much of the product as possible and grind it all down, and then you can make more records from it. Definitely don't want any of it going in a landfill.
My hope is that kids that visit here, dive in, and they tell their friends about it, and then they go and visit their local record stores.
A lot of times we get people in on tours who have not experienced what vinyl sounds like. It can be an eye or, let's say, ear-opening experience for them to be able to experience that for the first time.
A record will give you goosebumps. If it's a good pressing, good quality, the sound of it can really do something to you physically.
Do I think vinyl sounds better? Better than what? People are like, oh yeah, vinyl just sounds better. But they don't say it sounds better than.
In comparison to streaming, comparison to 8-tracks, comparison to tapes.
I think the whole analog sound is more pleasing to the ear.
There's something natural about like a needle vibrating in a groove and creating the sound versus the zeros and ones and everything.
If all you've ever done is listen to streaming through your AirPods, you're not going to have a frame of reference to understand, like, wow, that's your favorite record? Ooh, let's play your favorite record for you on a record player.
Like, obviously it sounds better than listening to something on your laptop speakers, because your laptop speakers probably sound like shit. But does it sound better than listening to a CD in the car?
I just don't get that warmth like that out of CD that I get out of vinyl.
I mean, they're better than tapes, but are they better than the digital streaming?
The idea that a mass-produced cassette sounds worse than like a bullshit record is actually so offensive to me, because cassettes are hella cheap to make and they can sound better than shitty records. I find it worth pushing back on.
The way everything sounds varies depending on a lot of different variables.
How you're standing in relation to the speakers, what's on the walls, what's on the floor.
How well it was recorded, how well it was mastered.
Honestly, it depends on the music. I would never really think to listen to the new Ariana Grande on vinyl.
The idea that analog is a superior format to digital, or that digital is superior to analog, is basically horseshit.
If it doesn't actually sound better, I could really give a shit. Because I like to touch them and hold them and flip them and look at them and go through the liner notes and
sliding out of the sleeve and getting out of the plastic and putting it in the MoFi sleeve and then putting it on the deck.
Lifting up the tone arm and putting it on and like trying to put it right on.
That experience is far and above scrolling through your playlist on your phone.
Does it sound great because that was a time in my life that it brings me back to? Or does it really sound that good?
I don't necessarily think the vinyl sounds better. I think it sounds better for me.
There are a lot of different ways that I could listen to a song. I keep listening to them on vinyl because of how it feels, not just how it sounds.
But to each their own.
This is the burning question in my life, because now you can get free service, you can get streaming service.
The reason vinyl sales increases and streaming popularity kind of coincide is because streaming allows discovery.
You literally can sample everything that is out there and then make your buying decisions based on that sampling.
If I really enjoy a band and I listen to their whole albums on streaming services, I will definitely make a point to buy the record, because I do feel passionately enough about them that I want to support them in some other way. Because you can get the music elsewhere, but you can't get the liner notes. You can't get the photo booklet.
You gotta have it.
This is a different experience that is weirdly complete harmony with streaming and also the complete opposite of streaming.
I think it's cool to be able to access so much different music and listen to such a diverse kind of array of sounds, but I don't know, I really like the sequencing of a record. I kind of go back and forth. You know, if I'm on the subway, I'm obviously going to listen to the Spotify version. But if I'm settled in my house for the night, I would probably reach for the vinyl.
I just moved to the place where we're here right now, and we live on top of a mountain here. And there's 2 switchbacks that make it so you can only have a certain size moving truck. I had to take out all of the records myself, and we had to be out of the house that we were in on moving day. And, you know, it's about 13,000 records, you know. So what you're talking about is boxes and boxes and boxes of dead weight. Every box that I was moving, I was coming face to face with my, you know, habitual collecting demons in a way that no psychologist could have ever helped me out with. And I vowed to myself that, like, it was time to stop. So I have this whole thing now where if I get a record, I've got to get rid of 3. You know, you want your collection to be easily accessible. You want every record you pull out to something that brings you total joy. A good night for me is when I wake up and there's a stack of records that are out of their sleeves and strewn around, and I realize that, man, last night I had a really good time, you know? And you can't do that if you're going to treat them like some bizarre objects that are in museums and things like that. When you have a dog, you pet the dog. Look, when I have this dog, I pet this dog, and I love this dog like this. I don't just put her on a shelf and not worry about it. And, you know, I feel the same about my records. Yeah.
My mom used to say, do you have enough records? Don't you have enough? When are you going to have enough? And I said, Mom, you know, you don't get it, Mom. There's never enough records. And I think 20 years later, you know, I think she was right. We use these like IKEA shelves that fit records perfectly. Like every record collector does them. Like a 5x5 of those, 25 cubes altogether. That's like the ideal amount of records, right? It's enough for you to like have enough to listen to and go a little deep, but you don't have too much. And that way, if you get more records, you can always like make sure you get rid of enough that it always fits in there, right? It's kind of hard to do. I have so much personal history tied up in every single record. And so, I don't know, that's something I need to actually practice. I haven't got there yet, but one day.
Well, it's sort of the replacement for it. You know, my siblings and I, it was never just like, oh, come listen to this song and let's talk about it. Let's talk about why we like this song and, you know, what we're hearing in the song. It was like, no, I'm Beyonce, you're Michelle, you're Kelly, let's go. You know what I mean? And you know all the words to the song, and you know all the moves to the song. Like, I grew up with music being mostly in the idea of performance. So I need to be able to have my space to do my performance and enjoy my music.
But those big performances have really been beneficial to me, too, because it's kind of brought back this sense of play. It's not just another thing that I know, it's a thing I'm experiencing.
That's in the teaching each other thing. He taught me how to, like, be curious enough about music to not just think about how it makes me feel, but also think about where it came from and what's the history of this sound. But I get him to play.
She taught me how to dance again. She was like Kevin Bacon. I was like that whole town.
Basically.